you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. I've been a long-haul trucker for 15 years. I've driven through rain that felt like the end of the world, whiteouts in Minnesota, pitch black mountains in Oregon. I've seen my fair share of close calls, drunk drivers, half asleep cops, car fires on dead highways. But what I saw out in Nevada in 2021 is still the one thing I can't explain, and believe me, I've tried. It was an overnight haul from Salt Lake to Barstow. I've done the route before, mostly uneventful, desert stretches, ghost towns. This time I took Route 375, also known as the Extraterrestrial Highway. Tourists love it because it runs near the border of Area 51. Locals hate it because no one lives out there, and if your vehicle dies, you're probably not getting help until the morning. It was about 2:30 AM. The sky was overcast, no stars, no moon, just the sound of tyres on asphalt and that dead desert silence that presses against your windows. And then I saw her. She was walking in the middle of the road. No shoes, no jacket, white dress clinging to her in the wind. She wasn't running, just walking, slow, like she had nowhere else to go. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. You do that sometimes when you're on hour 14 and all you've had is coffee and AM radio. But I wasn't, because when I hit the horn, she turned her head and looked straight at me. I swerved hard, braked, stopped maybe 20 feet away. But by the time I jumped out and ran forward, she was gone, vanished. No trace, no rustle in the bushes, just empty desert on both sides of the highway. I stood there with the truck hazards blinking behind me, turning in slow circles like a moron, and then I spotted it. Footprints. On the right shoulder, just past the barrier, there was a patch of loose sand, and in it, dozens of footprints, small, barefoot, deep in some spots like she's been pacing back and forth. Then they stopped, just ended. No trail out, no side path, no tyre marks. I walked in a wider circle, nothing. I scanned the bushes, nothing. I was alone again, or at least, I thought I was. Back in the truck, I checked my dash cam. It was still recording. I skipped back to the moment I'd seen her. At the exact second I hit the brakes, there was nothing. No woman, no white dress, just empty road. But here's the thing, I could hear my own voice on the audio. I was yelling, "Ma'am, hey, are you okay? Stop walking." So I was talking to someone who didn't show up on the camera. I played it again, and on my last frame before I stepped out, something flickered. One single frame, not even a second, showed her face. But it was too close, like the lens had zoomed in. Her skin was pale, hair soaked, and her eyes were looking straight through me. I drove to the nearest gas station, about 40 miles out, and I called it in. The sheriff came down from Tonopah, didn't laugh, didn't roll his eyes, just took my statement like he'd heard worse. And when I showed him the dash cam, he watched it 3 times, didn't say much, but then he pulled a binder from his cruiser, like a fat old school phone book, flipped through it, and landed on a photo. It was a missing person report from 2013. A woman named Camilla R., 28 years old, who disappeared while driving from Reno to Vegas. Her car was found totaled a few miles off Route 375. Her body was never recovered. She was last seen wearing a white sundress. I felt sick. The cop said, "You're not the first to see her. Some say she's a ghost. Others think she's still out here, confused. Maybe she's trying to get home." Then he leaned in and said something I still can't shake. "Some folks see her, some don't. Usually the ones who've lost something, or someone." I thought that was the end of it, but 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. Just coordinates. I clicked them. They led to the exact spot I stopped that night. 30 minutes later, another text. Thank you for stopping. I blocked the number, deleted it, but they kept coming. Different numbers, always the same message. One even included a photo. It was blurry, night vision, and it showed the outline of my truck. Parked, lights flashing, me standing outside. And a woman, just barely visible in the frame, standing on the roof of the truck. I sold that truck 3 weeks later. The buyer called me after a week, said the infotainment system kept resetting and the dashcam would randomly replay the same 30 seconds over and over. Even after a full wipe, he asked if it was haunted. I said I didn't know, but I tell you this, I don't stop for anyone on the side of a road anymore, and I've never driven Route 375 again. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it, but sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I still see her face, not in my dreams, on my dash, frozen, mid-blink, like she's waiting for me to stop again. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others, hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. We thought it was a one-off, just a weird moment on the road, a sketchy driver, maybe drunk, something you complain about, then forget by the next gas station. But it wasn't. It stayed with us, the feeling that someone was watching, following, hunting us. And no matter how far we drove, that truck always found us. It started in Utah. My girlfriend Maya and I were doing a loop trip from Phoenix up through Monument Valley into Colorado, then back down. Just the two of us, 2 weeks off, windows down, playlist blasting, open roads. It was perfect until we stopped for gas near Bluff, Utah. There was this old red pickup idling by the dumpster. It was a beat up Ford, tinted windows, no plates. I didn't think much of it. It could have been anyone. But when we pulled back onto Highway 191, the truck pulled out behind us. At first we joked, "Oh, you've got a secret admirer. Maybe they liked our Spotify playlist." It followed us for 40 miles. It didn't tailgate, didn't try to pass, didn't drop back, just hovered, always 3 to 4 car lengths behind. I tapped the brakes a few times to make them pass. Nothing. We pulled into a diner near Blanding, parked and went inside. The truck drove past, then 10 minutes later, it pulled into the lot. Didn't park, didn't get out, just sat there. Idle engine, tinted windows. After 15 minutes, it drove away. Maya said, "Let's just get to the next town and see if it turns off." It didn't. We stayed overnight in Monticello, a small motel off the highway. At 1:30 a.m, I peeked out the blinds. It was parked across the street. Same truck, same position, still running. The next morning we left early, took a completely different route than planned, zigzagged side roads for 90 minutes before reconnecting to Highway 491. No sign of the truck. We thought we lost it. Stopped at a scenic lookout around 11 a.m. to breathe and take photos. As we walked back to the car, there it was again, parked behind a row of trees, just close enough to see us, far enough not to be obvious. I walked over, pretending to tie my shoe. The cab was empty, no one inside, but the engine was warm. That meant someone had just gotten out. I scanned the trees, I saw nothing. We drove to Cortez. Maya was crying now, said she felt like we were being hunted. I agreed, so we called the police. An officer met us at a gas station and took our statement. I showed him a photo I finally managed to take of the truck at the lookout. He looked at me and said, "No front plate, that's illegal here, but it's not a crime to follow someone if they're on public roads." I asked if he could trace the vehicle. He said not without a plate. Then he said something that made me cold. "You're not the first to report something like this. We've had calls before, similar description, but we've never managed to stop the truck." He suggested we check our car for trackers. I thought he was joking. We drove to an auto shop in Durango. The mechanic checked under the car, found a small black box behind the rear bumper. Battery powered, magnet mounted, no markings. He said it was a real-time GPS tracker, not illegal to buy, often used by debt collectors or worse. He handed it to me like it was toxic. We tossed it in a dumpster behind a shop and drove to a completely different motel under a different name. That night, we slept for the first time in 2 days. No truck, no knocking, nothing. Until we reviewed the motel security footage with the night manager just to be sure. At 3:17 AM, the red pickup pulls up into the lot, sits there for 10 minutes, but here's the weird part. The time code jumps every time the truck moves. Seconds disappear, frames shutter. At one point, the truck appears to shift position without moving, like it glitched forward 6 feet. No driver ever gets out, and it just leaves. The footage cuts to black, then resumes. No explanation, no vehicle registered matching the one we saw, no witness statements, nothing. It was like it never existed, but we saw it for 48 hours. It knew where we were, even after we dumped the tracker. Back home in Phoenix, weeks passed, no more sightings, until one night, I opened my glove box looking for a charger and found a small black box, identical to the tracker, but with something else inside, a single Polaroid photo of Mia sleeping, taken from the foot of our bed. We'd never noticed the window open that night. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But that photo wasn't the worst part. It was the note on the back. One line, "See you again soon." If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others, hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. This story isn't about ghosts, it isn't about demons. It's about something I still don't have an explanation for, and that, I think, is what makes it worse. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's in the dark, it's the voice in your ear that knows too much. In 2020, I drove from California to Texas after a messy breakup. I needed to clear my head. No plans, just open road and cheap motels. Somewhere outside of Tucumcari, New Mexico, a long stretch of Route 66, I saw a hitchhiker. Late 20s, pale, long black hair, wearing an oversized grey hoodie. She was just standing off the shoulder, thumb up, face neutral. I never pick up strangers, but something about her felt off. Not threatening, not urgent, just off. I slowed down anyway. She climbed in without a word and buckled up like she's done it 1,000 times. I asked, "Where are you heading?" She just said, "Where are you going?" We drove in silence for 10 minutes, then she started talking. Not casual stuff, not "Where are you from?" or "What music do you like?" She started telling me things, particular things, about me. "You used to hide under the table during thunderstorms. You still double check that the stove is off every time, even when you haven't cooked." I laughed, nervously. "Lucky guess," I said. She didn't smile. "You had a dog called Murphy. He died when you were 11. My grip on the wheel tightened. No one, not even my ex, knew that name. I hadn't said it out loud in 15 years. I asked her how she knew. She said, "Because we've met before." I said, "When?" She didn't answer, just looked out the window. I pulled into a gas station maybe 20 miles up. Old school place, just 2 pumps and a soda machine. I told her I was grabbing a drink, asked if she wanted anything. She said, "Just leave the car running." I didn't. I locked the door behind me. I went inside. I told the clerk, half joking, "Hey, if she drives off, I'll need a ride." He looked confused. "Who?" I pointed out the window, at the passenger seat. "Her." He frowned again. "You came alone, man." I sprinted outside. Passenger door was unlocked, seat was empty, no sign of her. I checked my phone. No photos, no messages, no calls, no proof she was even there. I asked to see the security footage. The clerk agreed reluctantly. We watched it together. From the moment I pulled in, I was alone. No passenger, no door opening, no one getting out, no one inside the car but me. See, I was shaken, still convinced I wasn't hallucinating. I checked into a roadside motel that night. I couldn't sleep. At around 3 a.m, I heard a knock at the door. 3 taps. Paused, then 3 more. I didn't move. Eventually, the sound stopped. I checked through the peephole. Empty hallway. But beneath the door, someone had slipped a piece of paper. It was a note, torn from a motel notepad. It said, "I'm not done remembering you." I checked out before sunrise. I made it to Amarillo by noon, parked at a diner, and noticed something in the back seat. A sealed envelope. No stamp, just my name, first and last, written in block letters. Inside was a letter, but not one she wrote, one I had written 12 years earlier, unsent, to my mother after we had a massive fight. I never mailed it, just left it in an old journal in a storage box. This was that letter, down to the smudged ink from a spilled soda, and it smelled faintly of her perfume. I don't remember the rest of the drive. I just remember getting home, every door locked, every mirror covered, every sound in the night making my chest tighten, because sometimes I still smell that perfume in elevators, stairwells, or parked cars beside mine. And sometimes in my dreams I hear a voice saying, "We're not strangers, you just forgot." If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But if you ever pick up someone on an empty road and they know your name, don't ask how, because the moment you ask, they start remembering everything.